you don't got no sauce, then you're lost. But you can also get lost in the sauce.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for another episode. Today we're going to be working back on the EF. We're going to go ahead and finish the wiring. I made a video on this some time ago doing the same conversion harness, but it was on an OBD0 car. It was on Josh's EG hatch back like 2 years ago. So I figured I'd go ahead and make a video for all my OBD0 fans out there, everybody with a CRX or an EF. I didn't happen to record it when I did my CRX conversion harness back in the day, so now I clearly have a chance to go ahead and record it for you guys and show it's how it's done. Please feel free while you're watching the video to stop it, see which wire it is, and then stop and fast forward, stop and fast forward. It'll make it a lot easier for you to make sure you have the right wire. And also keep in mind that these cars are like 30 years old, so a lot of those wires have gotten faded just from the sun or just from over time. So sometimes red can look like orange. It's super easy with these, so always make sure that you follow the pinout. Make sure you have the correct letter for the correct plug, and then you have the correct pinout over. Don't just trust the colors, because if you do, sometimes you might just be cutting wires that you don't need to, and you'll find that out later down the road. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Before we go ahead and get started matching the conversion harness into the OBD0 plugs, I first just want to show you guys quickly the plugs that you just need to hook up right here. Normally this would be in the engine bay, but I went ahead and just tucked it behind the dash. That way there's less wires out there and more wires in here. These plugs right here that normally go to the engine harness, you can see you just plug it in there. This one right here, super simple, super straightforward. This one has like a water protector over it, so that way the plug doesn't get wet. You can keep that there, just plug it in. Same with this wire down here, plug this one and you are good to go. Now obviously this wire that's feeding in here is from the RRSX or Accord, whichever harness that you're using. You can see this main wire right here. So two of these are going to go ahead and plug into the ECU. And then this other plug here from your conversion harness plugs right here. Snap this one in, and then these are going to be the ones that are going to be hardwired into our OBD0 plugs. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and go over which wire goes where. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start with the hardest wire. I'm not going to go from A to B. I'm going to go literally from the hardest wire to the easiest wire. That way if you're sitting in your car and it's a hot day or you're frustrated, it's easier just to get the most confusing thing out of the way, and everything else that's easier to do that after, I think personally. So I'm going to show you guys which wire to go off of for the brake switch. So your brake lamp switch, to activate that, go to the C plug. The pinout on it is going to be C10, and the color of it is going to be white and green. But the problem is, if you can see here, all the other wires next to it, let me try to get you guys some more light. All the wires next to it are also the same color. So this is extremely important to make sure you know exactly which side you're on. And also you can see this is a white wire here. It's actually turned kind of yellow, if you can see on camera. So that's another reason you don't want to go over just the colors, because that white definitely looks like a yellow to me. But the good thing is, on the opposing side we have a blue and yellow wire, so we know which side is which. For C10, if you are looking at it at the bottom, if you have it this way and you flip it backwards, you got your supposedly white wire here, and then after that you're going to count over 3. So you got your white here, and then count over 3. 1, 2, 3. So the last wire here that is green and white, that is going to be the one there that you're going to cut. Alright, again, before I cut this wire, just so you guys can see a better look here, we got our white wire, we got a green and white wire, green and white wire, then we got a third green and white wire, then there's a blank here in the middle. So that's an easier way to realize it. It's the one right in between the space before we go over to the red. And again, that is C number 10. Alright, time for our second wire. We're going to go ahead and do the check engine light. This green wire here on the conversion harness, you'll see it'll say MIL. That just stands for malfunction indicator light. Same thing as Really, it's just a fancy way to say check engine light. So we're going to go ahead and match that one up with the OBD0 plug. This is A plug. Over here we've already used C, and now we're going to go ahead and go to our B plug. So B6, it's going to be on the bottom. If you flip it over all the way to your left, you'll see you'll have a blue wire. Count over 2, 1, 2. And this wire here, you can see it's tucked up under there. It's going to be green and orange. That green and orange wire right there, green and orange, that's going to be check engine light. So that's going to be B6 on the B plug. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Alright, now we're on to our third wire. This one is going to be the VSS. That stands for Vehicle Speed Sensor. This is also going to be on the B plug as well. That's going to be B16. So go over on the bottom. If you go over 3, you'll see 1, 2, 3. You'll see B16. That's going to be a yellow and red wire. B16, go ahead and cut that for your vehicle speed sensor. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and do our fourth wire, and that's going to be for the fuel pump. With our conversion harness, it is a yellow and green wire. And for our plug, this is going to be on our A plug, and you can use either A12 or A14. And you'll notice here that they are both the same color. They're both black and green. So you can get it wrong or get it right. It doesn't really matter. You can put one on this one on that one, or you can put them on both. They both do the same thing. This is the power for the main relay. So you can use either A12 or A14. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut A12 here and get that matched up to my fuel pump wire. Okay, and for the fifth wire, the ECU power, this is a white and green wire. This one can go to either A13 or A15. That'll go for the injector resistor, the resistor box that these OBD0 cars come with. So you can use either of those, or you can use both of them, just like the fuel pump. And that's going to be A13, which would be right here, or A15. So you can use either one of these, or you can use both, whichever one you prefer. So I'm going to go ahead and cut here A13, cut that one, and get that one matched up to our ECU power. Alright, now all the hard wiring is finished. We are almost done. We only have 2 more wires that we need to run into the engine bay. If you are going to be running a coolant temperature sensor, you can see right here, that wire right there, it's mainly yellow, and then it's got a thin little green line going through it. That'll be for your coolant temperature sensor. So if you are going to be running a coolant temperature sensor, you're going to want to hook up to that wire, run that sensor all the way through to the engine bay, and then run it directly to the sensor. I'll also put a link down in the description, so if you guys want to use that coolant temperature sensor, there's an aftermarket one that they have that'll bolt right onto the top of this. It'll bolt right onto the top of it, the wire. Just put a wire nut right over it, and then you're done. Now for our fan relay, to be able to run our coolant fans, this is another wire I'm definitely going to be running. The coolant temperature sensor, I have the block off because I'm running the RBC, or I was running the RBC. Now we're running the RSX intake manifold on the K24, so we had to block that off. So that wire I actually won't be using for this application, but I will be still using my fans. Obviously we got to cool that motor down. So I just got some wire cover here. I'll go ahead and feed this through the engine bay, and then we'll go ahead and hook that up to the fan once we get a fan in the car. So I went ahead and just ran the wire through to the engine bay, made sure I had enough room. I knew it would fit because I had this same harness on my CRX before, but I just wanted to make sure everything was the same. So I'll just cut back a little bit of this, and then I'll get a radiator fan put in. Just hadn't gotten around to getting a radiator fan. And then after that, we're a lot closer to getting this thing running and going. And I've also decided that I am going to get this car finished first. It's almost there. We're just going to get this one finished, get it on the dyno. That way Alyssa can get out VTECing and having a good time. I'll give you guys a little bit of update on the single cam. I actually grinded away in the bell housing, and then I got it put back on the transmission, but it was still hitting. But luckily enough, I talked to one of my buddies out in Colorado who actually used the same application. He showed me exactly what it is that he needed to grind, and I didn't even touch that when I had it apart because it didn't look like it was in the way at all, but it clearly is. So I'm going to go ahead, take it back apart, get that spot grinded out, get it back on, so that way we can get onto this guy. This is definitely a big focus that I've been trying to get done for a while. Just a lot of things have been getting in the way. I'm going to stop making excuses, and we're just going to get her done. But like I said, we're going to get the EF finished first. Should have that finished here in probably a week, 2 weeks max, and then make an appointment and get her on the dyno. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you do have any questions, please go ahead and write them down in the comments. I'll try my best to answer back. Also, down in the descriptions, I'll put a link there if it can help you guys. From Ktuned, they make the same conversion harness, and they make a directional thing that's really easy to follow. So if you're easier for you to learn by reading, I'll go ahead and put that down there in the description. If you guys have any questions, like I said, please feel free to ask. But as always, go ahead and like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
If you don't got no sauce, then you're lost. But you can also get lost in the sauce.